10th at 6:30, filling in for Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich, who is enjoying his spring break. And we haven't been enjoying our spring break here in the Carolinas. It has been bone dry, but temperatures have been fairly pleasant, kind of at or even below that average mark, which right now our average high is 72 degrees. So this evening we've got comfortable, clear skies out there. Temperatures slowly cooling down into the lower to middle 70s, but it is going to get very warm this weekend, and hot and dry is going to be the headline going into next week. So a live view across the Carolinas, nothing but sunshine out there. Hard to find one cloud in the sky other than a high cloud out there. That will actually make for a gorgeous sunset going in within the next hour. Now, yesterday I showed this 24-hour temperature change, and it was very similar to this map. Kind of each and every day has been 10 degrees warmer than the last. Tomorrow afternoon is going to be no exception as well. So right now we've got high pressure system has been in command. That's why the southeast mid-Atlantic has been a touch warmer than it has been in previous days. We do have a cold front on the way. Now this is a weak cold front, but you can see some showers right alongside it. As it sinks down to the south going into tomorrow afternoon and evening, there would be a slim chance for a shower, especially up towards our mountains, maybe foothill counties as well. This is going to be extremely minimal, not expected to make it to the Charlotte area as well. Current temperatures outside, middle to upper 70s, 76 here in the metro, and 68 over towards Ashe County. But all in all, it has been a warm afternoon from the mountains all the way into the Charlotte metro. This evening, perfect for any patio weather that you might be having. We'll be falling to about 70 degrees by the time we get to around 8 o'clock, then falling into the upper 60s right after that. And overnight lows won't be kind of nearly as cold or cool as they have been. This morning, we woke up to the 30s and 40s. Yesterday morning, we woke up to the 20s and 30s. So we're kind of steadily getting warmer, not only with these afternoon highs, but morning lows as well. So tomorrow morning kicks off upper 40s, close to 50 degrees under clear skies. That's a sign of warmer weather to come. When, of course, we start a little bit warmer, we're going to end a little bit warmer, right? Middle 80s is what we do. Again, this is going to be 10 to 15 degrees above our average high for this time of year. Lots of sun to go around across the Piedmont, but again, could see some more cloud cover and potentially that stray shower up towards the mountains and foothills. That temperature outlook, no surprise, showing much warmer than average conditions going into next week. So the weather impacts, we are looking at our first 90-degree day of the season. That comes next week. Not just one day of that, but potentially at least two, and that dry and quiet weather pattern that we've been having all week long, that continues into next week. We've had our most 80-degree days this year on record. We're up to 15 total for the year. In fact, we picked up around 10 in March, and then 4 just in April, and then 1 in February. And we're looking to add 2 more to that this weekend. Middle 80s is what we'll do not only tomorrow, but for your Sunday as well. So that rain coverage extremely minimal. I would say despite the warmer weather, we still have much comfortable air out there, some lower humidity. So despite us only getting warmer and warmer from there, the one thing on our side is it's not necessarily going to be feeling like June with that extra humidity. We do have that summer alert out, okay? So Tuesday all the way through next Friday, upper 80s, close to 90 degrees. So not only do we have a chance to hit ahead of schedule our first 90-degree day of the season, well, it's not just one day. We have 2, even 3 days where we're going to get very close to that mark. So is this unusual or is this normal? Well, our average first 90-degree day is May 20th. So this is ahead of schedule by over a month. Our earliest 90-degree day on record, March 17th. Not necessarily going to be in that category. However, if we do hit it next Wednesday, that's April 15th, we would at least be in the top 10 earliest 90-degree days on record. I believe we would be number 9 on that parameter. So that goes to show how unusual this is. We'll also be approaching record highs as well. The standing record right now for both Tuesday and Wednesday is 89 degrees. We are forecasted to break that record going into Wednesday. I know we are forecasted to break that record going into Thursday as well. So that cold front, like I mentioned, is sinking down to the south for Saturday. As it does so, few showers alongside it will be possible. It's just going to be extremely minimal. So here's your Saturday, 5 o'clock. That rain coverage, most of it will be over towards Greensboro. Can't rule out a stray shower alongside I-40 and north of it up towards the mountains. That includes Statesville all the way to Morganton, Hickory, extending all the way up over towards Ashwaubenon and Avery counties. The thing is, dries off pretty quickly. By Saturday night, all of that rain chances will be gone as well. And then looking towards next week, not only are we hot, but we are very dry. Next best chance for measurable rain comes for next weekend. If you haven't seen this newest drought monitor update, it comes out every Thursday. We kind of analyzed it yesterday, but that extreme drought in the red has been expanded from Charlotte now up towards the mountains. Portions of Asheville has also been added to that extreme drought as well. And with the bone dry conditions we've had this week, the bone dry conditions we're going to have next week, we've got fire danger concerns, as well as the drought status will likely only continue to worsen. That is why there is still that active burn ban across the entire state of North Carolina, and that does go until further notice. The North Carolina Forest Service did reaffirm this on Monday, so they initially issued this at the end of March because we were so dry and our drought was continuing to worsen, but they have now reaffirmed that burn ban. It does go until further notice. Our fun fact of the day, first 100 days of 2026, we are the second driest. It goes from January 1st all the way through today. Total rainfall we've picked up less than 6 inches. So we're running a deficit each and every month. We've been running a deficit for last year as well. That's why we desperately need some rainfall. Your Charlotte FC forecast for tomorrow looks great. Temperatures will be in the 80s right around kickoff time, then falling into the upper 70s by the time the game ends. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy made this fun graphic, but when Charlotte FC has high temperatures at their home opener in the 80s, they always win. But there was one game, March 14th, that had high temperatures in the 70s, so they tied it. So hopefully the odds will be in their favor, as temperatures are going to be well into the 80s in the warmest game that we've seen so far this year. The Artemis splashdown forecast also looking good. Remember, this is going to be landing off the coast of San Diego, roughly 50 to 100 miles. You want rain over 35 miles away, or at least winds less than 28 miles per hour, wave heights less than 6 feet, and good visibility. So we have all the check marks for that, and looks to be a go. So make sure again to join us for that coverage. That begins at 7 o'clock. In this Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast, a very warm weekend, but an even hotter week ahead. It is going to be feeling like June. Again, join us for that Artemis splashdown coverage starting at 7.
Weather Impact Live with Brad Panovich is sponsored by Moisture Lock, crawl space, basement, and foundation repair experts serving the Carolinas since 1988.
Tired of all this rain? Does your yard look like a swamp after it rains? Hi,
and can impact weather across the planet. A super El Nino is more rare and happens every 10 to 20 years. Our meteorologists are explaining what it is and how it forms and how it impacts us.
A super El Nino, that has been the talker on social media. Let's talk about what that means. Sea surface temperatures in the eastern tropical Pacific anomalies have to be above normal by around 2 degrees Celsius. It typically lasts for at least 3 months and happens every 10 to 20 years. So while on the rarer side, it has occurred before. We've got increasing odds of El Nino this summer due to an increase in heat in the subsurface ocean, weakening of trade winds. The Climate Prediction Center is giving it a 1 in 3 chance that El Nino becomes strong. Again, that is when we see those anomalies 2 degrees Celsius and warmer than average. What that warmer water does is it impacts the jet stream. So we've got more Pacific moisture right alongside that jet stream pumping into the south. That means wetter than average conditions and cooler than average temperatures as well. Typically alongside the Appalachians up towards the Midwest, it is drier. Now, El Nino also has a big impact on the Atlantic hurricane season. That means stronger vertical wind shear and typically suppresses tropical activity.
So what does that mean for us here at home and around the globe? When the eastern equatorial Pacific heats up this much, it shifts the subtropical jet stream and global weather patterns. Historically, for the United States, this setup brings a higher potential for widespread intense heat waves across the southern U.S. There are more storms in the tropical Pacific basin, and that could potentially affect Hawaii. While often dry in the northern U.S., some models suggest an increased risk of intense downpours or severe thunderstorms, particularly in the west and central plains. There are often other major issues around the world: severe droughts in Southeast Asia and Australia, higher global temperatures, intense storms, marine ecosystem damage, and increased health risks like malaria and cholera. But it's not all bad. The Atlantic hurricane season typically sees less tropical activity as there's more wind shear over storm development regions. And although it does carry the risk of flooding, there's also a reduced drought risk with increased rainfall in the southern plains of the U.S. Still, the impacts of a super El Nino could be very costly. Forecasters are already starting to compare this coming event with the monster cycles back in 1997 and 2015. Those events shattered global heat records and caused billions in storm damage.
Our meteorologists will be watching closely to see if it forms as expected and just how powerful it becomes. Eric Glasser spoke to forecasters at a conference in Florida.
Many of the area's top meteorologists and weather forecasters gathered to talk about the upcoming 2026 hurricane season. And one of the biggest topics of discussion was the potential for a super El Nino forming in the Pacific.
And so that then causes a global change in climate patterns.
Patterns that could impact all of us. With a super El Nino, temperatures rapidly rise in the Pacific Ocean, leading to changes in the global jet stream, creating wind shear in the Atlantic, making it harder for storms to form or intensify.
More wind. More wind is good to break up anything that starts to develop.
We asked people stocking up on basics if the forecast of a super El Nino would change the way they prepare for the storm season.
Well, I have listened to that, and I can just hold a good thought. I get prepared one way and one way only.
If it's going to be a low hurricane season, we probably would not go up like most people would here.
Forecasters warn against complacency since El Nino years don't historically mean a lack of damaging storms. Hurricane Andrew, for example, hit Miami in a strong El Nino year, devastating South Florida.
So yeah, just keep focusing on the message that they can only take one.
And still another potential side effect from a super El Nino, lots of rain, possibly leading to a reversal of our drought conditions, but creating its own risk of wind damage and flooding. In short, potential for more storms, just not as severe.
Forecasters say, of course, there's still uncertainty since long-range spring forecasts can be a little less reliable this far out. NOAA says the first 3 months of 2026 are the driest on record, with nearly 60% of the country experiencing drought. Last month was the warmest March ever recorded in the continental U.S. That's in 132 years of records. NOAA says temperatures average more than 9 degrees above normal, with more than half the country experiencing the single warmest March day on record at some point last month.
Big dome of high pressure essentially set up over the southwestern U.S. That dome of high pressure would have been something that made us double take as meteorologists in the summertime, much less what we experienced at the beginning of spring. One reason that's so concerning is just the sheer volume of records, all-time records that were set and broken during that time period. But also this is coming on the heels of what was the worst snow year and the hottest winter of record. So what we understand, knowing that we have this cake that's been made, the main layer is climate change. The super El Nino is going to be warmth on top of that. And so what we have seen in the American West is likely going to be a story that we see over and over again globally, because we know that El Nino has the power to bring up that global temperature on its own.
6 of the country's 10 hottest months on record have all happened within the past decade. Hurricane season in the Atlantic starts June 1st. Colorado State University released its outlook for what the season could look like. That El Nino forecast is playing a big role. Our meteorologists break down what to know.
Dr. Phil Klotzbach, one of the leading tropical experts out there. He puts this out yearly. You know what? He always verifies it as well, and he shows like his reasoning behind a lot of this. And he just put out 13 named storms, 6 hurricanes, 2 major hurricanes expected this year. So slightly, Lou, below average.
Yeah. So you see your 30-year average there on the right side, and then exactly slightly below average. If you want to nitpick, say, oh, we're right there at around average. I'll be interested in the nomenclature, the verbiage that a lot of people are kind of spinning with this. But yeah, I mean, technically speaking, and precisely, this just slightly below average, which is interesting because the last several years, I think if you pay attention to these long range forecasts, we've had many years of slightly above average forecast, or an above average season has been forecast. You don't hear that slightly below too often.
I think one of the main reasons for it this year, and he cited this a few times, is the what he called the Jurassic El Nino.
Yeah, use the
or
term
super El Nino, or like I've never heard of it called a Jurassic El Nino. That's a new one for me. But the point is, a very strong El Nino is in place. We're already seeing sea surface temperatures above average. It's expected to still set in that typically results in wind shear across the tropical Atlantic. Even if the sea surface temperatures are warm, if you have too much shear, it just reduces convective activity, and also a little bit of a suppression aloft too, that he was mentioning. So that's kind of the main factor with this. I think combating it is still the fact that, to your point, the above average the last few years, because the sea surface temperatures are still warm in the Atlantic. It's just, there's other factors taking place here.
Plenty warm. So El Nino southern oscillation phases. We've got what was forecast, and modeling still continues to suggest that pooling of warm water. This is the Pacific side of things, and that absolutely impacts where and how things react on the Atlantic and Caribbean side of things as well. So we look at a little history here. So we accumulated El Nino years, right? We've got, average El Nino, slightly above or strong, like has been forecasted. And then, as the good doctor had said today, the Jurassic El Nino, which a couple of models have suggested, which would be a 3-degree anomaly above what's normal. So we're looking at about a degree and a half. I think most models kind of have that mean or median right at about 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees, some a little above, and that highest level would be about 3. That would be pretty wild. What we've kind of accumulated, but look at El Nino years that we've had going all the way back to 1982. Still a really broad range of actual named systems, and this is for tropical storms all the way up to major hurricanes. So if something's named, it could simply just be that tropical storm strength. And we've seen years like 2023 where there were 20 named storms, 2010
And 95 was even a standout as well. 19.
Absolutely. And then you get years, back in the 90s, that which I don't see included here, but you had 91, 92, maybe a weaker, but still nonetheless El Nino, where you had things like Andrew.
Yeah.
An A storm late developing in our terms.
But I guess that kind of, because Andrew, hit in September or late August?
Late August into, yeah.
So it kind of alludes to that below average number of storms. Yes. But it sounds silly, and we say it all the time, it only takes one.
100%.
And that was a notable year. So we, and I think one of the other things of what this forecast too is pointing out, it still expects 2 major hurricanes.
Yeah.
Which, last year some people say last year was a quiet year. It wasn't. But we had Melissa, which just broke all the records. And that one, it didn't hit the U.S., but still, it takes that one that really kind of cause a big impact.
Changes are coming to the weather graphics you see all the time during hurricane season, and forecasters say this will help give you better information to stay safe. One of the country's best-known weather graphics is getting a makeover. It's the Cone of Uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center. NOAA says the new version still has a cone to show a storm's predicted path, but it also highlights hurricane watches and warnings on land. Cheetah Craft spoke with the National Hurricane Center to learn more.
This is Dr. Michael Brennan. Thank you for your time. Now, The forecast cone is something that people have followed for years. Tell me about the changes that people can expect this year.
Yeah, you'll see a couple of changes. On the operational cone graphic, the one everybody's been used to seeing, the biggest change this year is we're going to have inland tropical storm and hurricane watches and warnings shown on that cone. We've been experimenting with that for the last couple of years. It was really useful in a storm like Hurricane Helene back in 2024 when we had, catastrophic wind damage all the way inland into western North Carolina. But it's a way to just better convey the threat of those wind hazards, not that aren't just coastal risks, but inland risks, there in southeast Texas, like we saw with Beryl back in 2024 as well. So it's a way to just help better message that threat.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you're saying. I think a really big misconception when people look at that forecast cone, they think that's the actual risk where it's really showing the track. So how do you think that this will make it a little more clear and easy for people to understand?
Well, right away, it'll show that the risk for wind, given the watches and warnings, often extends well outside the cone. And it actually, the way we've designed it is they cover up the cone. So you don't even see the cone in that shorter term time range. You see where the wind watches and warnings are. And that's a start to try to, again, message that the track of the center is only the center. And then the storm often is hundreds or even thousands of miles across, with hazards extending well away from the center itself.
Yes, I agree. And I mean, so this is, something that you're going to implement everywhere. Speak a little bit about Hawaii and some of the changes that y'all are implementing this year.
Yeah, so as folks in Southeast Texas know, we've had a storm surge watch warning we rolled out for the Gulf Coast, the U.S. East Coast back in 2017. It's been almost a decade. It's been really successful in highlighting the risk of that life-threatening hazard. So this year we're rolling out that storm surge watch warning and all the other real-time storm surge products for the main Hawaiian Islands to help give them that same level of service for that particular life-threatening hazard. So if we have a threat there, there'll be the storm surge watch warning and some of the graphical products we use to convey that reasonable worst-case scenario for storm surge to help folks plan and make evacuation decisions.
Okay, these are amazing changes because, we know that when it comes to the forecast cone and it comes to the watches, the warnings that y'all put out, it's just to save lives. This is all about safety.
This new guidance comes less than 2 months before the start of Atlantic hurricane season. While more storms could threaten states along the East Coast soon, disaster relief is still delayed. In his first official trip as Homeland Security Secretary, Mark Wayne Mullen visited areas in North Carolina devastated by Hurricane Helene in 2024 and to address funding concerns.